are listening to Digital Denizens.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Digital Denizens podcast, where we live to discuss all things in the ever-expansive gaming realm. Today is February 6th, episode 21, and I am your host, Keith Whalen, aka the Gamer Stache. Today, I am joined alongside me is AJ, aka All for Gamers. We've got a great episode ahead of us. How's it going, AJ?
Not too bad, Keith. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's good to reach out and kind of, have some fresh blood on the episode, metaphorically speaking, of course. Still a pulse there. He's still alive. I promise. So we'll get into that. Before we do, remember, if you guys want to write into the podcast and have us read your funny anecdotes, interesting or emotionally charged video game stories, offer up ridiculous life questions like, what is Mako? Well, it depends if we're talking about Mass Effect or Final Fantasy VII, but I'll let you guys write in and let us know. But if you just want us to share with us what you're currently playing, we'd be happy to do that. We'd be thrilled to share your thoughts with the rest of our listeners. We're also trying out a new segment, which is why I have AJ on the show, where we'll get into that a bit later, but I'll just do a quick explanation. Our normal pixel to pixel segment is kind of shifting a little bit. We've reformatted it so we can bring in streamers, YouTubers, podcasters, or even artists, that are kind of, making gaming merch or selling gaming merch or making gaming art or anything like that. Just, DM me on Instagram at digital_denizens, and we can kind of, talk about it a little bit and figure out, where you kind of fit in there. So, but the reason we're just trying to get like-minded people on the show, this is so we can kind of help you guys connect with whatever you're interested. If you're trying to look into getting started with your own channel or something like that, even if you've been doing this for a while, we'd love to have you on so we can help other people kind of get insight on how to start their own channel, or if what kind of gear to get started with. So if you guys are just looking to get your hands on some good gaming art or gaming merch, that this is also a good place to find it as well. So we will also be posting a lot of this stuff on Instagram, so you can find the links on there. We're going to be doing mentions to find these guys, or you can kind of message them if you have questions about any of this stuff. Speaking of which, if you want to write into the show, you can find us on Facebook at digital_denizens, or on Instagram at digital_denizens. And of course, if you have any feedback for us that helps to improve the show, we'd love to hear from you guys as well. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, you can also find us in the links down below. So I guess we'll just dive into it. Video games? Video games?
Video games.
All right, man. So AJ, let's just explain to me what you kind of do a little bit, just to get a gist, and then we'll talk about more of that later, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick rundown, kind of trying to actually doing what you're doing, trying to build a sphere for and about gaming and for gamers. So we, as of right now, we have an online shop where we're selling these things, tiny arcades and other awesome items, including all retro video games. We also have a mobile shop that we have up and going when, hopefully when everything comes back to normal. We have a mobile shop that we go around Long Island as of right now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Super cool. That is really awesome. I don't know if you know, I'm in Michigan right now, but I'm originally from Jersey, so.
That's right. Yeah, you and I were talking about that. Okay, we're basically like neighbors.
Exactly. This was meant to be. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, so we'll talk about more of that later if you guys are interested in kind of finding out where to get these tiny arcades, and how you can even contact AJ on Instagram or Facebook, or I'll give him a chance to put his plugs and stuff like that. So, but for right now, what are you buying? What are you playing? So this is our game section. I don't know if you recognize that. I took that from Resident Evil 4. It's the shopkeeper's quote.
That's what. Okay, I was going over my head like this sounds familiar. Okay, I did get the quote. I understood the reference.
My brother, me and my brother started the podcast, and he put that in, and I never took it out. I was like, that is fucking gold.
So nothing with the mustache, it works. I love it.
I feel so sinister right now. It's amazing. So I'll give you a chance, AJ. What have you been playing lately, man?
Oh yeah, sure, man. I've actually kind of I've been hyped. I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan, so
Hell yeah.
oh my god, dude. I bought and played Hyrule Warriors, the new one, Age of Calamity. I'm not a Warriors kind of guy, but anything to do with Legend of Zelda for the most part, I gotta buy. Been playing that. I'm a few hours into that. I love it. The backstory is phenomenal, especially for those who love Breath of the Wild. Speaking of which, I went back to playing that as well. So I'm
Nice.
re-addicted to that. It's absolutely terrible. All my free time has just gone back into playing that. I have no free time. I don't sleep anymore. I just play like
Just playing Hyrule Warriors and Breath of the Wild.
that's about it. You start to think that your name is Link after a while. So I might have to put down my control. I think I have a problem.
Therapists can usually help with like, multiple personality disorder. They're good with that kind of stuff, you know.
Give me a number. Give me a number. I'm gonna
Yeah,
take
there
that.
you go. So I have a question. I have never finished Breath of the Wild. I wanted to get back into it and play it, but and I also was looking at the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game. It looked
Mm.
really cool. Does it play very similar to Breath of the Wild, would you say?
It doesn't play very. It does. So it doesn't play similar. So have you ever played any kind of Warriors game at all?
I haven't played any of them, no.
Okay, fair enough. So when it comes to Breath of the Wild, like everyone knows who's played it, it's a big open, world where you can do any and everything for the most part. When it comes to the Warriors game, it's a linear path of what you need to do, but the basic concept is you have like, and this is perfect for what this is supposed to be. You're one character and you can switch between two, three different characters at certain points on the map, right? And
Okay.
you're in a huge battle. So that's the whole entire idea. You're not traversing much of a terrain to get to a certain objective. Your
Hmm.
objective is to beat the living piss out of as many people as humanly
Oh,
possible.
that's cool.
Like you legit would have 1,000 bokoblins coming after your head, and you're just beating them, left, right, and center.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
for people who just want to get off, like a lot of aggravation, like myself, sometimes it's a
That's perfect. So is it third person action?
yes,
Okay, very cool. And so it's more like hack and slash and everything.
more along the veins of that. Yeah, I would say.
Okay. That's pretty cool. I don't know. Like the image I'm getting in my head is like the old freaking like Lord of the Rings beat 'em up games that they used to have. Where it was like
Okay.
you could play like 2 or 4 players and you're just like fighting hordes of the orcs and stuff off and everything.
It's kind of something similar like that, or like
Yeah.
the Horde Rush, like in Gears of War, something like that.
Oh, nice. That's really
Yeah,
cool. So how much time have you logged into that game, would you say?
not as nearly as many as Breath of the Wild. I'm not even gonna go on that one because it's in the triple digits. I'm proud and ashamed of myself at the same time,
Yeah.
but I want to say like a good healthy 15 hours so far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
Awesome. And anything you want to say about Breath of the Wild in particular? Um,
In particular, I would say the only thing that Breath of the Wild just for me has become my new favorite Legend of Zelda. It outranks
mm,
Ocarina of Time by a small margin. That's his
yeah.
second, very very close second. But I cannot wait for Breath of the Wild 2. The
Oh, yeah.
trailer is been out for 2 years now, and we need more information. I demand more information, or we riot.
Yeah, come on, Nintendo, let's go. We're still waiting on Metroid 4 too, and the
Uh,
HD collection.
they're just gonna hang that over our heads until I can't.
Yeah, seriously. I love the Nintendo Switch. It's probably like one of my favorite consoles just because of like the concept of it and everything. It's
Yeah.
just like, come on, Nintendo. Like there's so many properties out there, like games that you could be putting out
Hmm.
on that system that would just be fucking amazing.
I
You know?
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, but we're all in the same boat waiting for that kind of stuff. So
Sadly.
yeah. So I've still been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and same as you, I'm happy but also ashamed at the fact that I put like 215 hours into this game right now.
That's impressive.
And this is my first playthrough. You
Okay.
know, so which is funny because like when the game first came out, they're like it's going to be like 30 to 50 hours, like nowhere near The Witcher 3, which like mind you, I still haven't beaten The Witcher 3. and I'm almost 200 hours into that game.
You just all the side missions.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, I was doing a lot of the story missions, and then I kind of went off and did a lot of side missions, and
Those are fun.
I started one of the DLC packs. I think it was um it wasn't Blood and Wine. I think it was
Okay.
Hearts of Stone.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I started, and I got like so enveloped in that one that I was like, there's so many cool things that they added into the game with Hearts of Stone.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to change your armor color and like all that kind of stuff. A lot of customization. And so it's just funny, you know, like going into Cyberpunk, they're like, oh, it's not going to be nearly as long. And I'm like, I don't know. I keep finding content. I'm at the last stretch, like the last act of the game, which is like, you know, the point of no return.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, I still feel like I have all this stuff to finish before I could do that. So I'm like, you know, I'm still trying to wrap up a lot of that kind of stuff and still like exploring the world and still finding locations or like, you know, just like hidden areas that I'm like,
That's
wow,
big
where the
fun.
fuck was this hiding the whole time I've been playing the game, you know? Or
Could have
like,
used this 2 chapters ago.
right, exactly. Or I'll find like a free vehicle or like a really cool weapon that was like, you know, an iconic weapon or something. I'm like, I wish I had this way earlier in the game, you know, but it's really cool, you know, aside from all the bugs, you know, which I know they're working on it. And I trust that CD Projekt Red is going to work out a lot of that stuff in time. It's just a shame that it happened the way that it did,
Without a
you know,
doubt.
because it's like, you know, the marketing and everything for that game was like perfect in every way. You know, they hooked everybody on that game, and I think that's why I think it probably hit so hard when it kind of like fell a little flat. You know, which is
Yeah. Yeah, especially I mean when you have the big bomb that Keanu Reeves is going to be in a video game, then all of a sudden when it comes out, everyone's like, Keanu, you let us down.
yeah, right. And it's, you know, and it's not to say like, you know, the content that it does feel like there's some stuff missing in the game. Like it feels like there's just certain content or missions that could have been like a little bit more better executed. Like
Mhm.
in The Witcher 3, you have a lot of these quests that will lead into this quest, into this quest, into this quest. It's like a whole
Right.
string. You're like, oh, I'm just gonna hop on for the night for 30 minutes and play, and then it's like 2 hours later, you're like, wow, this quest is still going on.
Oh
You know,
God.
like that kind of stuff. And like I think that Cyberpunk sorely needs that type of content. Because that was kind of what they promised initially. So you know that's a little disappointing but the writing and stuff that is there is really deep. You know, it's just like the side quest stuff like can be kind of hit or miss at times.
I would agree. I picked up Cyberpunk. I honestly purposefully kept myself ignorant of what Cyberpunk was because of like what you said, because it was so hyped up and everybody was going
Right.
batshit over it. So I was like, you know what? If it's gonna be that much of an amazing game, I can't wait to play it. But I want to go in completely blind. So the only
Yeah.
thing I knew was just the logo. So on day one, I was like, all right, I got to see what it's about. I bought it. I popped it in. It was freaking hilarious because of all the bugs on day one,
Right.
and was seeing through people. There were just objects flying everywhere that should only be like a car flying out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was absolutely not. I still had fun. I haven't played it in a while because I want the patches to go through so it can
Right.
actually enhance my experience and not
Mhm.
deter me from playing it. But which platform are you playing it on? Are you playing it on PlayStation?
PC actually.
That's why you're not having so many problems.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people who've been playing on PC have had like a better time with it. And I would say I've encountered more bugs going further into the game than I did like in the beginning.
That's
And it's not like super game breaking stuff. It's mostly immersion breaking. You know,
mm,
like people T-posing or like yeah, vehicles flying in the distance and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like where's Pierce Brosnan in fucking Twister? Like, what's?
yes, I'm saying he's supposed to save us all. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, seriously disappointed. So and like I've gotten into like the modding and stuff with like Nexus mods
Oh,
and
cool.
adding some like stuff that has helped with stability and frame rate and just like offering a little bit more of like a smoother experience, especially like the driving. I've added some cool like driving mods to
Oh,
actually
that's
make
cool.
the vehicles feel comfortable.
Dude, I respect the modding community so much because
Yeah.
you and everybody else just pick up where the devs left off, and you can't even blame the devs. It's the corporate who's saying
Right.
crunch, 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 push it out. We need money.
Exactly. Yeah, and it is sad because at the end of the day, CD Projekt Red originally wanted to put it out when it was ready,
Mhm.
and I think they knew it wasn't ready. But obviously, you're right. Like the higher ups, I don't think wanted to listen. They wanted the money now. They wanted everything to be ready, even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, shame on them. But yeah, so like the mods have been, I think, made it a better experience overall. It's still got its issues here and there, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I've been kind of I've also been playing a shit ton of Risk of Rain 2. It's a really great game. I've been playing both on the Switch with my kids. They're 7 and 10, and they saw me playing on PC and they're like, "Oh, I want to play that." So I was like, "All right, why not?" Like it's a really cool game. Have you heard of it at all?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't. I've been too focused on Legend of Zelda.
Okay, no, that's all right. It's a really cool game. I think it's kind of roguelite if you want to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you pick a survivor that you want to play as, and first off you start with like one survivor. He looks like an astronaut, and then you get dropped onto this planet, and you have to basically kind of fight off all these like creatures and aliens or whatever, and you have to make it to the end of the level. Like once you get to kind of the end of the level, which is like this teleporter. So you'll find a teleporter on every map, and once you collect enough items where you want to build your power up, so you'll pick up like just weird. They're like these weird items, like a queen bee's gland or something. I don't know. It's just like all these weird named things, and they all have like sort of properties tied to them, where it'll boost like critical attack, like speed. It'll boost your like your current powers, your primary powers, or your secondary powers. So like the astronaut, he's got like dual wielding pistols. He can do like a side roll. He can do he's got like a phase blast type thing. And so they all have like cooldowns on them as well, like all of these abilities that you do. So you'll find items that will lower your cooldowns, raise your health, and all that kind of stuff. And so once you get enough items and you're like, okay, I feel like I can move on to the next level, you go to the teleporter, and then you move on to the next level. But there's a lot of like really cool hidden stuff where you can, if you activate certain statues that you might find in certain levels, it'll open up different portals to these hidden worlds. And so then like you might find like a hidden boss and you beat him and then get like a special legendary item that will like severely boost your power.
Okay.
So along the way, your difficulty will continue to get harder the longer you're playing, until it reaches like the highest difficulty is just ha 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 ha, and it just keeps going. So in some cases, like it depends on what difficulty you're playing on, because you can pick your difficulty and that changes how the difficulty scales along the way.
Okay.
And so like if you want to kind of like make a run through real quick, like you're like, okay, I just want to like get to the next level, you can like mainstream it and get to the end, and maybe the last boss might be easier, or certain areas might be easier to get to, especially like if you're playing by yourself or something. So it's interesting. There's a lot of like different ways that you can play it. It was in early access for a long time, and then it finally got released last year, like its full final, release basically.
Okay.
And yeah, so and I think they're looking to do like a lot more updates I think in March they're supposed to be releasing like a huge update where they have like a new survivor and like some new levels and things like that, new items. And so on the PC, which is nice, we've been me and my brother have been playing multiplayer and messing around with mods, where like you have to have the same mods in order to link up with one another.
Okay.
But it kind of like adds some other elements that aren't there in the vanilla version of it, where you can like if I pick up an item, he can share that item with me. So we share like a combined power almost. Whatever items he picks up, I get, and vice versa. And it's really cool because it's just like you see this like hundreds of items that you end up picking up, and like you're just like unstoppable to the point where like you can you can jump like 6 times in a row and like fly up to this mountain, and you're just like you don't have to touch the ground for like almost 2 minutes straight if you don't want to.
So you're just like breaking the game.
Yeah, in a sense, yes. Like, but not to say like it's not hard either. Like you can still get murdered in the map
Oh.
because you have like enemies that are swarming, and it's like to some point where like we'll drop in like frame rate to like 10 frames per second for like a good couple seconds, and then you're like, what is happening right now? There's so much shit flying across the screen that I don't know what's happening. But
Oh,
like,
man.
yeah, so like you can still get killed like if you're not careful, or if you're just sitting around and you're not moving, you can get hit and get wiped out. But it, yeah, so it's still challenging, but it's so like satisfying. It's like kind of like what you were saying about Hyrule Warriors. It's like one of those things where it's just so satisfying to just take out all of these enemies that you wouldn't normally be able to take out, and it's just like that.
So you just like OP and you're like, all right, going guns blazing.
Yeah,
I like-
exactly. Like there's this one special ability that you can pick up where like it's got like a cooldown on it, and it's called, I think it's called the Royal Capacitor, and it's basically like you're just shooting lightning down from the sky like Zeus
Nice.
onto like one enemy, and it's like a game changer. You know,
Oh,
it's
great.
wild. And then my brother, he uses like these, it's called like shoulder mounted rockets, and you're just constantly like sending out these barrages of missiles and hitting all enemies in on the screen. It's wild.
So it sounds
So
like you guys are like, part of the Avengers then. You got your Thor, he's apparently gonna be Iron Man. You just need Captain
Yeah.
America, you need Hulk, and you guys would be good.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Avengers assemble. Yeah, so I think, yeah, if you like the Hyrule Warriors, you probably would like something like this. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, have me
So
sold. I know what I'm doing after this.
yeah, and I think it's only like $25 too. It's not even a full price game either.
That's double sold. That
Yeah.
budget and awesome game. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it's like so this is a second one. The first one, they're both kind of like cell shaded, but the first
okay.
one was like flat 2D, and this one is actually 3D, like cell shaded animation and stuff. So it's got like a really unique art style, I think, too, that helps it, that really helps it kind of, sell itself.
That's
So
not bad. That takes me back to when Wind Waker first came out, and I hated it. I was one of those morons, and I will absolutely admit it now. I'm one of those morons who was fully expecting, because after what was it, that E3 demo you saw right after Majora's Mask, you see Link going against Ganon. You're like, oh my god, that's so badass! I can't wait for this game to come out. And then all of a sudden, Wind Waker came out, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? I
Right.
hated it. Didn't want to play it.
that's what I've
My
heard from a lot
friend
of people.
Matt. Oh my god, yeah, and I didn't know that I was like amongst the population who didn't want to play. As soon as I played it though, I was like, it was kind of like one of those where you just want to put it down, start bowing to it, and you're like, I was so wrong, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's such a great game.
Yeah, I heard that from a lot of people. Like in the beginning, they were like, "What is this shit?" And then after everybody played it, they're like, "This is actually one of my favorite Zelda games."
Yeah, top
I'm like,
five.
"That's so cool." Like you got to trust them. Like they know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a long time. You know,
Yeah,
give Nintendo props. They don't come out with games super often, but when they do, it really hits.
that I think that's a very very appropriate and accurate thing to say. Absolutely, I have not played yet. I have not played a Zelda game that I don't like. It's always hard to balance out. Every year, my top 10 favorite Zelda games completely change because you view it at different angles. Or if you have like this new Paper Mario game that came out, I don't like I don't know. Have you played the new Paper Mario game?
I haven't played the new Paper Mario. No, I remember playing the original one back in like GameCube though.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I've never played a Paper Mario game because I'm not really too big into RPGs myself.
hmm
But I figured I'd give it a try because it was about origami, whatever. I'll tell you right now, me personally, the art is phenomenal. The
Yeah.
storyline is really good. It's very engaging, but the combat system is something that it doesn't give you a reason to fight. You don't
Oh,
have any
okay.
progression, you don't have any buffs, so you're just fighting for the sake of fighting. So you can
Mhm.
literally take Mario, avoid all of your opponents, never fight unless it's a fight that you have to actually go into to progress the story, but you don't have to fight anybody, and you'll be able to go from A to Z and beat the game.
So would you say the combat's a little like lackluster, or is it just like
The combat itself, I would say, lackluster. I would say might be a little bit too harsh of a word. I find
Okay.
it interesting.
It's
It's
just you like
interesting
doing
to
maybe some of the other stuff more.
it doesn't give you risk reward kind of deal, right? So
Yeah.
if you're gonna fight this person who's got 1,000 HP, but you only got 50 HP, but if you know that you can beat this guy at the level that you're at, you're gonna
Hmm.
get this big chest full of everything in the golden armor, let's say, right? There's
Right.
none of that. It's that you got
Oh.
this guy with 1,000 HP and you're 50 HP, and when you beat him,
Hmm.
you can go on to the other guy who's got 1,000 HP for some reason. So
Yeah.
there's no
So it's
rhyme or
just you're just fighting for fighting,
yes.
not because it gives you anything at all.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yeah.
don't actually level up and become stronger.
Okay.
You plateau at the same exact strength and everything that you're at. So it's kind
And
of
I think the original one had a little bit more of that, didn't it?
from the original one. I haven't played that's my first Paper Mario game. I know that it
Okay.
was more rooted into the actual RPG where you did have it was
Yeah.
more similar, I think, to Super Mario RPG for the
Hmm.
SNES. I think it was more closely related to that than it is to what Origami King is now. So it definitely has more of
Hmm.
the progression and the ladder where you can actually consistently get items, rank up and everything
Yeah.
else like that. Like it's more of a traditional RPG.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So anything else that you wanted to talk about before we move on?
I don't know. I have ADD. I can talk about a lot of things. I
I
think
know, me too.
we'll be here for hours.
Oh my god. That's awesome. Yep, same. Let's see. All right, so let's move on to the news section. All right, so the first bit, as we were already kind of talking about Cyberpunk, and I mentioned this, I think, on the last podcast and the one before that. But if you guys aren't aware, Cyberpunk 2077 is doing a photo mode contest. This was originally, I think, it was supposed to end in January, but they extended it, so now it ends January. Oh, wait. Yes, it has already ended. I'm sorry. I apologize. Scrap that. We'll edit that out in the end or something, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw you guys for a loop. But as we were talking about Cyberpunk mods, I just want to warn you guys. There is some information out there warning you guys to use caution. There was some vulnerability discovered amongst some of the Cyberpunk mods. CD Projekt Red said that Cyberpunk 2077 should use caution when downloading mods and custom saves for the game after the community members discovered a save file exploit that could harm your PC. Reportedly, there is a bug that allows hackers to hide malicious executables within certain mods. Eurogame talked with CD Projekt Red, and the developer said the issue is linked to the external DLL files the game uses. The DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library, which is a library containing data that multiple programs can access and use at the same time. So this kind of sucks because you kind of look to a lot of these modders, especially like Nexus mods and stuff like that. People are putting these mods onto the site. You should be expecting not to have to deal with that. Like you should be expecting this is like a safe area, like we're not looking to harm anybody. We're just looking to kind of improve the game in some fashion, So it's a shame that we're having this kind of thing happen right now. So yeah, and like I've used some mods here and there, and like I haven't had any issues yet. But I just want to let you guys know, just be careful. Downloading mods from any site really. If you're not like familiar with that modder yourself, like you haven't used his mods before and you never had any issues before, then maybe go with them. Otherwise, I would say maybe avoid it until CD Projekt puts out another patch, which they're working on to help kind of mitigate this issue right now. So yeah, keep an eye out for that update from Cyberpunk. Speaking of vulnerability, I think that Keanu Reeves is also feeling very vulnerable. He's being very cautious with who he's having sex or who's having sex with him. Apparently, there's a mod that uses a body swap technique, and apparently has been banned and hidden because people are making this mod so people can have unauthorized sex with Keanu Reeves slash Johnny Silverhand. What has this world come to when we can't have sex with who we want to?
If it's consensual because I made him say yes, then it's consensual.
Right,
Wait.
exactly. Yeah, I don't understand this. Oh, man. Yeah, Cyberpunk creator CD Projekt Red said, we would kindly like modders to stop making Keanu Reeves into a sex object. Following a fan mod that allowed players to have sex with Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Silverhand, the developer told PC Gamer that user-generated content cannot be harmful towards others, especially when it comes to mods. In the case of model swaps, especially those that involve explicit situations, it can be perceived as such by the people who lent us their appearance for the purpose of creating characters in Cyberpunk 2077, the developer said. Keanu Reeves has a sex scene in the game that's played out in the first-person perspective, where he's having sex with a blonde girl with guitar riffs in the background. So it's okay for Johnny Silverhand to take advantage of girls, but we can't take advantage of him? This is unbelievable.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. Despicable. So yeah, this is just weird. I don't know. And I guess basically their stance behind this is like they don't mind if you do this kind of thing with some of the other players or characters in the game. It just can't be ones that were modeled after real people. Like Keanu Reeves, I think. I don't know if there was any other characters, but because I know there was a bunch of people who like got brought onto the project as voice actors and things like that who were famous. But I think Keanu Reeves, as far as I know, is the only, real person that like they brought his entire likeness along with it. And I think it was probably something, honestly, with like the contracts too, with Keanu Reeves to come on.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you can use him. Just make sure nobody's having sex with him. He can have sex with whoever he wants, though.
Subsection 4 of page 333. That's what I read.
Did you read the small print? Did you read it, though?
Where they get it.
Yeah, read it over again. Yeah, it's just so weird. I don't know. But I guess, you do you, Keanu. You got the millions of dollars to fucking pay for the lawyers.
Oh, he's like the nicest guy ever, too.
Oh,
Like,
I know.
I can only personally hear, like, have him watch the video of somebody just having
Right.
sex with him, and him just looking at this like, yeah, okay.
All right, yeah. It's funny too, because like I'm like huge into motorcycles and stuff, and obviously,
Nice.
like they brought Keanu's motorcycle company, Arch Motorcycles, into Cyberpunk, which was like I thought that was freaking awesome. Like they mic'd up the bikes that they made, to make it sound like that actual bike. They took a lot of like photos and videos of the motorcycle to get it to look exactly the same in the game as well.
That's cool.
But it's just funny because Keanu's that kind of guy, and he's like, I'll never stop riding motorcycles. And he even admitted at one point, he's like, yeah, I signed on to, movies that basically said specifically you cannot ride a motorcycle during the time of shooting this movie. And he's like, oops. Oh, well.
He did it.
Yeah, exactly. So good on you, Keanu. All right. So the next bit, do you want to read this bit, AJ, about Mass Effect?
Oh, sure, yeah. Actually, I got really excited and then upset, but then just excited again because I love Mass Effect.
Yes.
But I kid you not. I think playing Mass Effect probably almost dwarfs my Breath of the Wild. So that's a lot of hours of just flying around in space and putz around and shooting stuff.
I miss those games so much. Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
My God. Every year I would just play the trilogy all over again, and I would get bummed about the endings. So then I would start the first one again so I can forget about the ending on the third one. It was a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I can't wait. This is going to be awesome.
Oh, my God. I think that Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Actually, I did mention this on my Instagram as well. I apologize for the plug right now. But
No, go ahead. Anytime.
So Mass Effect Legendary Edition is going to be coming out May 14th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more of like, it's got a comparison screenshots of graphics and character models. So basically saying that it's going to be high def up the wazoo. So it's going to be more of a remaster, not a remake, which is, I think, is going to be a fantastic, especially with the TVs and the hardware that we have nowadays, comparative back to the 360. This is going to blow it out of the water, I think,
Yeah.
graphics wise.
I just wanted to say real quick. I was a little bit concerned in the beginning. I think like you're kind of saying, like I was like, oh, it's only a remaster, which I would have to say the second and third game I think would be fine with a remaster, because I recently jumped into Mass Effect 3 because I never had I don't think I ever like finished Mass Effect 3, which I know it's like blasphemy.
I don't blame you though. I don't blame you.
Yeah, and I think it was like when it came out, I'd stopped playing it because I heard the ending was terrible, until they fixed it. And so I was like, well, I'll go back at some point and finish it, and I never did. Um, but I was really disappointed mostly with the first game not being a remake, because I think like going back to it now, like the original game, excuse me, I felt severely that it needed maybe like a full-on remake, having some more of the systems brought in from Mass Effect 2 and 3. But looking at those screenshot comparisons, like I was like, holy shit, is that really the same game?
Yeah.
Like they showed that one of the Mako like driving down that road and you see the city. And I was like, the lighting and shit. I was like, okay, maybe I'm all in now. Like maybe it doesn't need a full remaster. I think maybe they're onto something. So
Yeah. I would absolutely agree with it. Didn't they say they have ray tracing in this as well, or am I just
I think I may have heard that. We could be wrong.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time that I'm wrong, but
Yeah. I mean, not 100% perfect. I want that to be, but
yeah.
I could have sworn. I don't know. There's so many different video games with ray tracing. I get excited about it when I hear that.
Right,
Simplest
exactly.
things in life that get you excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, go ahead though. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just
No,
wanted to
dude. Mass Effect. We can can we make an episode of Mass Effect? I think that'd be great.
I think we probably could. This could happen. It would be amazing. Yeah, so I think this is so it's not a remake. If you guys were hoping it was, it's a remaster. They've done a lot of the they've just done a lot of graphic overhaul, I think, basically on like the textures and stuff. The lighting I think was fully redone. And like in the screenshots they showed comparisons of the like male shepherd and femme shep, which I think right, it's so cool. But it looks like they pulled like the character model from Mass Effect 3 and put it all the way in first and second.
Yeah,
because they had a totally different one in the first game, unless you made like a custom character, right?
Yeah, I believe that's how it was. I didn't play the first one nearly as much as I did the second one. The second one's my favorite out of all of them.
Definitely.
But
agreed.
you are correct. So they pulled the redhead from the second and third one, which I personally think is a lot better. She's more detailed. She has just awesome hair. But just her presence alone, just kind of like more of like that badass action hero.
Yeah.
I think stuck more to that character design than it did the first one.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Let's see. I thought there was something else. Yeah, and so I think you'll also be able to create your own character if you don't want the standard, male shepherd or femme shep. And it looks like EA confirmed the character creator options will also work across all 3 games and includes an improved and expanded section of hair, makeup, and skin tone options. So, and it looks like the Legendary Edition is currently available for pre-order. So that's awesome.
There goes my paycheck.
I know, exactly. I wonder how much, I'll have to look this up and see. I didn't look to see how much it's actually going to cost for the whole trilogy. I wouldn't imagine I don't think they would go beyond 60 for all 3, considering it's like a remaster.
But I know that there's one of the pre-orders, I believe you get the N7 helmet, and I'm probably going to be broke after this podcast.
Is that with the legendary? That's a legendary collector's edition?
I believe so. I read about it really quickly. I just saw the helmet. I was like, I got to get away. I can't buy it. I got no money right now.
Yeah, for real. I know. That would be an amazing collector's edition. Like I've got like some really awesome collector's editions. Like recently I got the Cyberpunk one. That was like $250.
Okay.
You know,
That's
and
not that bad.
no, I don't think it's too bad. I feel like it's gotten collector's editions have definitely like gone up though with how much they're charging for a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff. But I would say, you know, for the Cyberpunk one, I think that was like that is a really good for that price. I don't think that's terrible because of the stuff that comes with it. I think is
Yeah.
really awesome. Like you get that large statue, you get like a bunch of pins, you get some patches, you get some really cool like you get a really awesome art book with it. Even comes with like a keychain of like the iconic car from like all the trailers and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's got some like really awesome stuff with that. I also have like I have the Final Fantasy VII Remake Collector's Edition with Cloud on the motorcycle, which like you know that's like a 6 scale motorcycle with the character and everything that's fully posable. It comes with like the sword and everything. Like
You
that is
have to take pictures and you have to send that to Leslie. She's obsessed with Final Fantasy.
I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was like, you know what? I need to start posting like pictures on Instagram of like my collector's edition
People go nuts.
collection. Right, exactly. And then I was thinking of Leslie, you know, because I can tell she's a huge Final Fantasy VII fan.
A little bit, just a little
Maybe
bit.
just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I thought she'd probably appreciate that. So, yeah, I'll have to start posting some of that stuff on there. Um so let's see. Oh, speaking of pre-orders, this one isn't available for pre-order. Not quite anyway. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake has been delayed again. Ubisoft sucks, man. I was really looking forward to this game. I loved the Prince of Persia games when they came out on like PlayStation 2.
Oh yeah.
You
Dude,
know,
it's a precursor to Assassin's Creed. You got the parkour on the walls and then just freaking
right.
slash people's heads off. It was great.
Exactly. And they also did like the reboot of Prince of Persia, which was like that cell shaded version.
I
And
didn't
that
play that.
it was all right. You know, I think it was a unique way that they did it. Of course, they had Nolan North, which is like who is Nathan Drake in Uncharted. He's like my favorite voice actor.
Yes, I bow to nobody except for that man all day, every day,
Yes, I
twice
know.
on Sunday.
Twice on Sunday. Thrice.
Yes.
But yeah, it was like it was a cool attempt, you know, like and it made like in the original Prince of Persia games you were kind of fighting off like a bunch of enemies, and this kind of changed the combat so it was like one-on-one. When you fought an enemy, it was usually one-on-one, and it was like this really cool like over the top like bombastic battles that you had with this enemy. It was really cool. The story itself I think was a little different. It was a little weird compared to the original Prince of Persia, but again, it was a unique attempt, I think, at what they were trying to do with that game. Um, but Ubisoft announced that the Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake has been delayed again. This time, without a clear new release date in mind. So, and I would imagine we'll probably hear about it soon. It seems to be like I think obviously you know things are more difficult in the pandemic where you're having to work remotely from home. A lot of these developers aren't working in the studio right now. So a lot of things are getting pushed and I think it's harder to give a release date when you don't know when you'll be able to release it when it's ready, you know, and then have a lot of the backlash which again we saw with Cyberpunk, you know. I think a lot of people learned from that lesson, you know, that you need to just either be a little more transparent or you know, maybe just not give a release date until you're fully ready to do so, you know, especially when, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. To be just no, I just agree with you. Without a doubt, you don't want to overpromise and undersell on
Yeah.
anything. You know, especially like you said, if you have people where the video game just industry itself is a multi-billion-dollar company, and
Right.
the video game industry actually outperformed Hollywood this past year. I think partly due to COVID, but if you're going to have people who are saying, listen, we promise you the world and then just give you a box and say, deal with it, plebs,
It's
terrible.
a little questionable. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, as I said, with the COVID and the pandemic, it's like things are so unpredictable, you know, working from home with all of these conditions. It's like you're not walking over to your buddy's desk at work and being like, hey, I've been working on this. Can you kind of look this over for me? Like working side by side, having that face-to-face interaction does make a huge difference when you're working at a job. I mean, me and you both work in the medical field of sorts, and if I were to work virtually from home doing what I do, I can't see the patients, in the same capacity that I would be able to do working in the office, bringing them back to a room and getting their vitals and, asking them questions and being able to see things with my own eyes.
Right.
There's only so much that you can assess doing that. So just trying to put myself in the developer's shoes and trying to understand what they're going through. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes either. So,
Yeah.
like we're in the industry to an extent, but we're not in doing what they do. So it's hard to really speculate and say this is how it is for them, So, but yeah, so we'll kind of like keep our eyes open for this one. I think it looks like they're trying to take the extra development time to enable their teams to deliver a remake that feels fresh while remaining faithful to the original. And that's really relieving, I think, to hear too, is because they want to keep it, as close to the original project, than they can. And I think, the Sands of Time itself was like the best in that whole trilogy. The origin story is always the best. As we, you can always tell sequels, they can be hit or miss sometimes. So,
Oh, without a doubt. But when you have a sequel that is just as good, if not arguably better than the first, you're onto something. And then the third one's either a make it or break it, because it's either the third one people really love or the third one people really hate.
Exactly. Yeah. And and I love the first one. The second one I think was really good as well. The third one I didn't love as much as the first two. I feel like it did kind of stray off a little bit from or kind of did a lot of the same of what the other ones did, so it was kind of like rehashing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was still, but the combat and the gameplay loops and all that kind of stuff were still really excellent.
I think that's what kind of kept on people kind of moving along through it. I would have to absolutely agree with that, because of the combat being, for the most part, consistent throughout the whole series. Nobody really had too much of a problem going back into it. It would be more of the third one isn't more of a toss away, but more of the okay, I go get to kick somebody's butt. The story is lackluster, but I'm gonna go kick his butt anyways. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious to see, like, when we get our hands on this, I wonder if like my brain will like remember all of those like puzzles and shit, because I remember playing that trilogy over, like, I think I was in high school at the time, and I played that trilogy over and over and over, probably like a good like 8 times, back to back, because I was just like, I love this game and I love all the puzzles, and it was just so like engaging for me, and it was like I had dabbled in games a lot, but like I wasn't really great at video games, and that was like one of the first games that I was like, oh, I can actually like beat this. It's like it's still challenging, but I was able to like overcome a lot of that, so that was really excellent.
I would say that you might be really probably really happy when you actually pick it up, because I would I know what you're talking about. I beat Ocarina of Time probably with 10 times, 5 times on the Nintendo 64, 5 times on the remastered one on the 3D. I can't get enough of the game. But every time you pick it up, or every time that you haven't heard a song in like 10 years that you used to sing to every single day in high school, and then all of a sudden oh, I don't know if I'm going to know the lyrics, and you literally sing the chorus, you sing the first part, you sing the last part. So I bet you're probably going to fly through the game remembering everything, and I have no doubt you're probably going to have one of the best times ever if it comes out as good as I think it's going to.
Yeah, it's like, it's just so nostalgic, but it comes back with like that muscle memory,
Yes.
It's so fucking awesome. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for this one. And one last thing on this, I think back in September when they announced the game in the Ubisoft Forward, they confirmed it would be using the Assassin's Creed Anvil engine. And we would see the return actor of Yuri Lowenthal as the prince. So,
nice.
Yeah, which I don't know if you're familiar with Yuri Lowenthal. He's a really good voice actor. He played Spider-Man in the new Marvel Spider-Man game. He's
Oh, that's why the name sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
They couldn't get him for the HD remaster or something like that. That's why they went off and they had to do a completely different person and got everyone's
Yeah,
on
yeah. I
twist.
don't know. Yeah, they changed the face and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, with her it was either something like that or they were trying to get the likeness to look more like Tom Holland. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
That
was
makes sense.
probably a combination of both.
Could be.
Yeah. So let's see. Moving on. Do you want to go through this next section?
You know what? I appreciate it. I'm going to leave it to you, sir. You've been
Okay.
doing a banger job. I kind of like just like giving those like little tidbits of information in there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's all right. So it looks like Google Stadia shut down their internal studios, changing their business focus. So apparently in late 20, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Google Stadia, the late 2019 streaming platform that promised to revolutionize gaming by
Whew.
letting users stream games without needing to own a powerful PC or console. Yeah, the one that's had an extremely rough launch, missing features, and a bad subscription model. Yeah, that one.
I still can't play it on my phone.
Yeah, so this is like, yeah, I'm just not a fan of their subscription model personally, just because, like, you're paying $10 a month and you have to buy the games on top of that. You don't own them. It's a digital platform.
Yeah.
I think kind of Amazon is doing it a little bit better, where you're just paying like a monthly subscription and that's it. But they don't have the caliber of games that Stadia has if you're looking for like a streaming platform.
I would agree.
Yeah, but aside from all of that, apparently they're altering course in their endeavors. They're getting out of the game making business and are now going to offer a platform directly to publishers alongside offering Stadia Pro to the public. So it seems like they're kind of going the route of sort of like Xbox with their streaming platform. So it's not going to be their main thing, but they're going to offer it to developers, like if they want to be able to stream their games for people who don't want the console edition or have to have a powerful PC. But I mean, this is kind of news to me because I didn't realize that they were actually making the games in their studios. Like I don't know what really goes into a lot of that. So this is just interesting. But the company plans to begin offering Stadia tech to publishers, opening up the possibility for Stadia to become the streaming tech for other video game companies. Google's head of Stadia operations, longtime console executive Phil Harrison, will focus on pursuing these new partnerships. We see an important This is a quote from Phil Harrison. He said, "We see an important opportunity to work with partners seeking a gaming solution, all built on Stadia's advanced technical infrastructure and platform tools." Harrison wrote in a blog post today, "We believe this is the best path to building Stadia into a long-term sustainable business that helps grow the industry." So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Google. Doesn't look like a good sign, but I don't know.
I
That
think
kind of
they have,
sucks.
I think they have a tendency of overshooting expectations
Yeah.
and kind of like circling back to what we were talking about before, right?
Hmm.
Promising the moon, but completely under delivering,
Yeah.
or just having an expectation to go this way where they zig where they should have zagged kind of deal. Because
Right.
I don't know if you remember was it Google Plus or was their answer to Facebook? Do you remember that?
Oh, shit. Google, was it Google Hang? Oh, they did have Google Plus, which
Yeah,
was like to link people together, and then they did
yeah.
like Google Hangouts, I think, alongside all of that stuff.
So I like the idea. I like
Hmm.
having competition in the marketplace, in any marketplace, because competition makes sure that everybody's trying to provide the best service at the best rate,
Yeah.
also to outdo the other other companies. But I think that that's a healthy thing to do. But I think unfortunately with this, like you said before, the rollout was terrible. They promised everything that you could do X, Y, and Z. If I wanted to
Yeah.
play, Bad Company, I need to now buy another copy of that, pay a subscription. So now but I just bought it. Why do I have to pay another 60
Right.
bucks? That's doesn't make sense to me. And for it
Yeah.
the latency on everything too. From what I heard, I haven't actually really played it myself.
Yeah.
It's terrible. You're not getting your money's worth at all.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right, totally. I think what Xbox is doing, I think in that regard is kind of hitting it in better notes because it's not their primary form of people to play games. You know, like they have Xbox Live, they have Xbox Game Pass, and then they have different layers to all that stuff. But then they also offer the streaming part. I think it's part of either Xbox Live or Game Pass. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, if people want to, say like you're like again, you know, being on the bus, commuting or something like that, you can whip out your phone and be able to open up the Xbox app and be able to stream a game from your computer or your Xbox and be like, okay, I'm just gonna play while I'm, you know, going here or there real quick. It's not something, this isn't your main mode of playing your video games.
Yeah.
You know,
They're
it's
not-
just yeah, it's just an option, an extra thing to have. But for Stadia, like I just don't think that we're there yet. Like you're saying with the latency, we're not everybody has the internet to support that.
Yeah.
Especially like we're talking about Australia, you know,
Those poor guys.
those poor guys, man, like they have like the shittiest internet in the, you know, in the
But the
world,
best accents.
but the best accents exactly. Yeah, man. Oh, that's so amazing. Well said. Well said.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I think, yeah, it's just a lot of that stuff. I think they need to keep in mind that we're just not ready for it yet to be the primary mode to play video games.
I
You
would
know,
agree.
and especially for something that doesn't work that great, you shouldn't be charging people all this money for something like I get like digital content, like you're buying a digital game off of the PlayStation Network. Do you really own that game? You
Mhm.
know, well, when that at some point in history, when that PlayStation Network goes down, you will lose that entire digital library and you won't own a damn thing. And you just like we've already seen that with like the Nintendo Wii. They shut down the eShop and they're like, if you're going to download your games onto the Wii or Wii U, like you better do it now because the servers are going to be shut down and you won't ever be able to download those games again.
Get a terabyte of
So,
memory and just download everything.
right, exactly. So, yeah, I think, you know, this sucks, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe this is a lesson to Google, like, you know, to maybe try and, you know, try to organize this in a better fashion ahead of time because it did have a lot of missed opportunities in the very beginning. I actually demoed their service before it was labeled Stadia. In its early infancy, I actually got into it was called Google Project Stream, and so they basically were issuing out betas for this service, where you would run the game. I believe it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was around the time when Odyssey came out, and they were offering you to be able to play for like I think it was like a couple days or something like that. And I was playing it through a Google um, web browser, basically, and it actually worked really well at the time. But I think it was because you know you only have like maybe what a couple hundred people running this, you know, on their servers, compared to thousands or even millions of people on the servers. And I think they underestimated how the servers were actually going to function
Yeah.
under load, right? So, and I got a free copy of, you know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey through the Ubisoft shop. So that was actually really nice.
Win-win.
Yeah, so that was really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens in the long term of all of this. Um, but unlike Google's predicament, this developer seems to still be making games. In case you're wondering, yes, PC VR World War II shooter Blunt Force is still in development. Um, this game has been long in development. I've kind of followed this a little bit. It's a PC VR shooter in the World War II scene called Blunt Force. It is made by developer Monad Rock. I don't know. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry. I apologize. If you guys are listening, I'm sorry. But this game has been in the development for I think over 4 years now after its reveal. For the first time in a year, though, since confirming that the game is still in the works, Blunt Force. Oh wait, I went through that already. their initial, I think, announcement was back in 2016. After years of silence, we began to think that the game was canceled until it resurfaced with a surprise demo during June Steam Game Festival in 2020. And their quote on Twitter basically said, "Long time no see. Monad Rock is still constantly working on Blunt Force, and we are back with some news. Recently, our code team upgraded upgraded to Unreal Engine. Words are hard. Uh, upgraded to upgraded to version 4.26, and now we will roll with development." So yeah, this game looked really cool. It looks kind of like it takes place in World War II, and it kind of, I think it skips through time, and it's got like almost like a time element to the game where during different segments you'll be playing as like a soldier in World War II, and then other parts you're like a spy. I don't know if it's either before or after the war or something like that. So yeah, it looks interesting. It plays with time a lot in that sequence or whatever. So I've actually had some communication with Monad Rock to have them come on the show, and they stated they may be interested in coming on at some point. But I think they said they wanted to first release their new trailer and their new demo, I believe in the first quarter of 2021. So I'll keep you guys posted if I hear more on this developer, if this is something that interests you guys. I think this would be really cool to have a developer, even if they're, a smaller scale developer. Every little bit helps them and it helps us. So I think it'd be really awesome to have them on and kind of talk about what they do and kind of, why they do what they do. So I think it'd be really cool.
Would you know if it's Quest version?
That I think so. I think so far right now, I think it's only Steam. But I think my kids we got them a Quest for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
The Quest 2. Do you have one?
I have the first original one.
Okay.
And I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So which I think like you can tether your Quest to the PC and be able to access Steam that way.
Yes, you can. I think it's Side Quest or something like that you would need to download. I'm just lazy. I haven't downloaded.
I don't know. I think if you tether it, you might be able to just use it right off the bat through Steam.
Oh, you think so?
With the cable.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can use I've been doing some research into this because I wanted to try and mess around with it, but you can actually tether it wirelessly to your PC now with an app called Virtual Desktop and Side Quest. And that way you can actually stream your games from your PC to your Quest using Steam. So that is really cool, being able to use it wirelessly and play like these like really awesome games like Half-Life Alyx, which is not normally able to be done wirelessly on the Quest.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's always, I keep on hearing so many good reviews about that. I gotta play that.
It is. I labeled that game, I think, on one of our, just at the end of the year or beginning of this year, I labeled Half-Life Alyx my game of the year.
Really, that good, huh?
Yeah, it was definitely my favorite VR game to come out of last year. I think sorry to get off topic, guys, but this is like yeah, it was honestly like, I think that could have been the best thing that have happened to VR last year, because I think there is so many good games out there, but I didn't find even half of them until I actually got into VR and like started digging and finding some of these like awesome gems out there. And then that came along, and I think that really got more people into playing VR games, because they're like, oh, this is actually like a real game, like it's a full length game that you could play for 15 to 20 hours. It's not just like this 30-minute experience or something like that a lot of these other companies offer, but then it opens the door to like a lot of these other games are like, oh, I didn't realize there is actually a huge library of games out there to play. Like Lone Echo is an amazing game on Oculus. I think it can only be played on like the Oculus Rift or other VR headsets if you still have access to Oculus. Like I use the Valve Index with Steam on Steam VR, but I still have Oculus, and then I use what's it called here? It's called Revive, and it basically works as like a bridge between both Oculus and Steam. So even if you don't have an Oculus headset, you can still access all of your games that you purchase through Oculus and play them on like a Steam VR headset.
That's pretty cool.
It is awesome, yeah. And so like, yeah, Lone Echo is like one of my favorite. You kind of float around through space as this robot, and he's like a companion. I think his name's Jack. He's a companion to this girl that is an astronaut on board the space station, and this like crazy anomaly happens that like fucks with time, and you get lost, and you're trying to help each other get through this and make it out alive. And it's just like the way they use like gravity and all that kind of stuff, like pulling yourself through like the ship, grabbing onto things and pulling yourself through is just like phenomenal. It like I've never played a game that feels so good like that. That's able to mimic that kind of stuff.
Yeah, anything that kind of gives you with the VR experience, I would to finish the topic so we can, I guess, get back on topic.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of, like you said, you have it. You don't. It's not just a shooter. It's not just you climbing. You have a mixture of everything, so you actually feel like you're immersed in an environment. So it's actually like like something that you would be doing, not just like shooting everybody or whatever. So I got to take a look at more games like that. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. Yeah, so yeah, we'll keep an eye out for this game and see where they're at. I let them know I would love to talk with them. I'd also love to play their demo when it comes out, because I think it might be like a sign up type thing for the demo. I don't think it's going to be available to everybody when they release it. So yeah, that's interesting. This next bit, I think you might find this interesting because this game, well, not because of this part, I'm sorry. This game seems to be a packed toy box for furry adventures. It's fine, guys. Not those kind of furry adventures. A different kind of furry adventures.
I was about to bust out my suit. I got excited.
Another time. But I appreciate the offer. So this game is Biomutant. There's just like kind of like a gameplay breakdown that I was reading about. And they basically explain it. It's a weird open world concoction of Zelda, Shadow of Mordor, and some other games that they mentioned in there. So the reason why I mentioned AJ would probably take a kin to this is because he loves Zelda, and I think they said there's a lot of like elements in this Biomutant game that are similar to like Breath of the Wild, So this game, if you guys aren't familiar with this, over the course of almost 4 years, developer Experiment 101 has revealed slivers of information about Biomutant. It's been kind of pushed back over the last couple of years. It's just like this bonkers open world adventure. And it looks like, let's see, it's a freeform RPG, and they said it's kind of a bit Zelda-y, but with a recent chat with Experiment 101 studio head Stefan Lungfist. I don't know how to pronounce. I probably butchered that as well. I'm so sorry.
I think you did a good job. I would have said something else.
Exactly. I know. Some of these guys, man. I'm sorry. You don't have easy names to pronounce. English.
We're good.
English language is already difficult for most of us. Half of us can't speak it, and we live in America. So, but it looks like we now have more of a comprehensive understanding of what Biomutant is. If you like Breath of the Wild or that type of structure, I think you guys are really gonna dig into this type of game. So, Stefan, I'm not gonna pronounce your last name again. You only get one. Confirming that Zelda's suspicion. But as he continues to paint a picture of Biomutant, plenty of more games come to mind: Far Cry, Mad Max, Monster Hunter, and even Fallout among them. So when I was reading, let me pull up the article here just so I can kind of pull some bits from there. Looks like there's 6 tribes in the world, which kind of reminds me of like Shadow of Mordor, where you can kind of join forces with some of these other tribes. And some of them might be good, some of them might be bad, but it says like you're not locked into one path or the other. So you can kind of change alliances on the fly I'm assuming there's probably going to be a lot of like furry backstabbing going on.
Let the fur fly.
Let the fur fly, exactly. Which it says you can learn their Wung Fu style. I think I talked about this on the last episode, and it explained it as Wu Fu, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck Wu Fu is, but somebody
Sounds like a
please,
waifu.
yeah. Oh, I hope it's not the same thing. They might be in trouble. But apparently it's a special combat technique. And so yeah, it looks like there's all these tribes that you can kind of team up with. There's rival tribes, and then apparently there's world ending, or what is it? It says world eater bosses. They're huge monster battles that demand particular tactics and equipment. You take them on by using a specific vehicle. It can be the Mechton, a mech, or a goo glide, which is a water ski or a submarine. So to get those vehicles, you'll interact with other characters in the game to help and get ready for the fight. So once you've fought those 4 big world eaters, and depending on the tribes or on your light or dark aura, which is like your karma, the destiny of those 4 world eaters might be different. So it'll allow them to live or not, to destroy the tree or not. So there's like a tree of life in the midst of like this open world that you'll be interacting with it to some extent, I guess. So yeah, it seems pretty cool. Like we've actually got some kind of backstory on this, and a little bit more details about the world that we would be playing in. So still, I don't think that there's any release date that I know of. If you guys know anything, please write in and let us know. Also, if we pronounce names wrong, write that in the corrections too. Tell us that we're wrong, and we can correct it on a future episode or something. So the next bit here. So this one's not quite full of furry adventures. Instead, it's actually Jaegers and Kaijus. And they're coming to Netflix in 2021. I thought this was kind of interesting. I didn't watch Pacific Rim 2, but I watched the first movie, and I thought that was really cool.
Second one's actually pretty good. If you like the first one, it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, only because it was the first to do what it did.
Yeah.
So the second one's definitely not groundbreaking or anything else like that. I think it's just more of a standard sequel just to put a sequel in there.
Yeah, that's what I heard about the second movie. A lot of people said kind of the same thing about it. I still do want to watch it, but I think this is really cool because this is called Pacific Rim: The Black. They got a new like action-packed trailer for it, and it's actually animated. It's like kind of like, it's more along the lines of like anime, like Gundam style. Maybe not as Japanesey from like the look of the animation, but if you can picture something like that, it's
I could. That sounds like it's going to do pretty well, actually.
Yeah, it looks really awesome. I watched the trailer for it, and I was like, this is cool. It's like it's a different take. I think maybe since like the second one didn't do as good as the first one. Maybe they didn't have the funding to fully do like a full on sequel to finish out the trilogy, but they thought this was like a good way to do it, which is, not bad by any means. I mean, there's already like the Witcher series, like we're still waiting for the second season of The Witcher to come out on Netflix.
Can't come out fast enough. I need it now.
But they're also doing there's also an animated series coming to Netflix, I think sometime this year, which I think follows the character of like I think Geralt's friend from, I think he's in The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3. And I cannot think of his name.
Was the old man with the mustache, right?
Yeah, he's like in the very beginning of The Witcher 3, he's riding with him on his journey to find Ciri.
Yeah, he was like Geralt's father figure. I forget his name, but that character was awesome. And for didn't play, I'm not going to spoil anything, but
right. Yeah, and I think it's supposed to explore his character and kind of like how he met Geralt and all that kind of stuff. So, and then there's also, in the midst of like CD Projekt Red, I think Cyberpunk is also doing a Netflix animated series as well that's supposed to come either this year or next year. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming, I think.
Probably better off next year. They need to work on it.
Probably better off next year. Yeah, we're full here. But yeah, so this the Pacific Rim animated series, The Black, which is set to premiere on Thursday, March 4th, 2021. So that's actually right around the corner. It says here's how Netflix describes its upcoming Pacific Rim animated series. There was a time when kaiju rose from the Pacific Rim only to encounter gigantic robots, Jaegers, built to fight them back. That time has passed. Now Australia, see, Australia is really cool, guys, has been overrun by kaiju, forcing the evacuation of an entire continent. Left behind, teenage siblings Taylor and Haley embark on a desperate search for their missing parents, teaching themselves to pilot a battered, long-abandoned Jaeger to help in their quest and give them even the slightest hope of surviving. So that's pretty cool. I think that's
a
awesome.
pretty interesting storyline. So they're actually going to be doing something separate, just within the same universe. So
yeah,
that's not bad. That taking artistic leaps of faith like that definitely takes some cojones, and that can either go like really bad if it's implemented not so good, but it could also actually help to their benefit and just get everybody reignited and reinterested in the whole series.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And let me see. It said in the article here, I wasn't super familiar with the people who have worked on this. Says the Pacific Rim Black comes from the legendary television and was created by Craig Kyle, which is recognized for Thor Ragnarok, Greg Johnson, X-Men Evolution. The animation is being handled by Polygon Pictures, who also worked on Levius, the Asian, AJIN. Are you in this, AJ? What's going on?
I played the best.
No comment at this point. It's a demi-human series. Yeah, like I'm not familiar with that. I don't know. Maybe you guys are. And also the Godzilla Netflix original anime movie trilogy, according to Netflix. So,
can we just make Netflix now a thing and just bypass Netflix? Because I think Netflix would be so much better.
So the more you pray to Jesus, you get a higher subscription. Is that how that works?
Oh, in that case, I'm going to be the most religious person on the earth.
I have 20 screens viewing all at the same time because me and Jesus, we're like this, man. We go way back.
You want to watch a new episode of The Witcher? Say 3 Hail Marys and go on.
Hell yeah. Oh, man. Me and the big guy, we're tight like this. That's awesome. So this last bit, did you want to read this one?
Oh, sure. Which one is the... Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. So this I find hilarious and amazing, and this is how we know we are living in the future. I'm scared and excited for this one. So I would say IRL Tony Stark, Elon Musk. He owns multiple companies, or rather CEO of multiple companies, one of which is called Neuralink. And I've only recently heard of what exactly was going on and what they're about. They're basically about, for those who don't know, about human integration with technology. So basically trying to get all the technology exactly like how you would think the future would be. So recently, Neuralink has implanted a chip in a monkey's brain, and he can now play video games using his mind.
I know, dude. This is wild. This is just crazy.
I don't. First off, who comes up with this? Because I don't think that would be my go-to of trying to implement wireless. I'm terrified as it is about stuff like that, but now I'm more intrigued than terrified. I gotta see what this is about.
It is something to be concerned about because it is more of like an invasive type of procedure in order to make something like this happen. So I think a lot of people have been skeptical. I think because of that, first of all, inserting a chip into your brain, is like, okay, are we using this for good or are we using it for bad? Who knows?
Oh my God. It can easily just turn out way maniacal and just so you have 10,000 people with these chips in their brains and then all of a sudden flash and you have control of 10,000 people literally by a computer. That's terrifying.
Are you big into anime or anything like that?
I love anime. Yeah.
Have you ever watched the Appleseed series?
I haven't watched the Appleseed series. No, I was actually just watching Dr. Stone. Nothing
Oh,
to do with it, but I love
yeah.
it.
Appleseed is really cool. It's like almost kind of like a cyberpunk type world, and
Oh,
it
nice.
follows this main character, Dune and Newt, and then like her I think it's like her boyfriend or husband or something like that. He gets like turned into an android because he gets injured in the war or whatever. Um, so like all of his body gets rebuilt as an android. But like in the main plot, I think of the first one is like they're using like these weird like visor things that like they can talk and communicate with people. Like it's like a phone, but like having a screen over your eyes that you can see them, talk to them, and like see ads and all that kind of stuff. But then people end up like hacking it and then
Oh,
using it, yeah, like taking control of like millions of people and then turning them into zombies to attack people. It's like, okay, this is what we're going. Is this how we're going? Is this how it happens?
no, this is exactly how Cyberdyne strikes first, and just like,
Yeah,
listen, the Terminators are real. They're coming.
yeah.
Armageddon is upon us. This is terrible.
I mean, we already got Tom Cruise who bought COVID robots to kind of like take over and to help like reinforce COVID laws on the set of Mission Impossible 7. It's happening, man. It's happening.
We're
I don't mean to
doomed.
be a conspiracy theorist, but fucking it's happening. The robots are taking over.
It's not a conspiracy if it's true.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, we got the facts.
That's about it, right? If you want the true facts, come here.
Yes, this is where you're gonna find them. Yeah, this is interesting. I also I think we were kind of like messaging back and forth about this, and I wanted to talk about this too because like that's more of like an invasive form, and this other one that I found, this is a channel that I watch on YouTube, Virtual Reality Oasis, and he was talking about this device called NextMind, and you can actually plug it into the Oculus Quest or Quest 2, and it sits like on the back of your head on the strap, and it's like this it can read brain waves from the visual cortex of the brain and allow you to control in-game actions with your mind, kind of similar like what you're talking about. But it's like, I think this is definitely like, it's more, people would probably be more inclined to try something like that if it's
Yeah.
non-invasive, right?
I would definitely say, and that is the problem without a doubt, because
Yeah,
I think that can still easily do a 180, good intentions,
right.
completely horrific outcomes with that.
Yeah,
But the fact that you don't need to get a surgery or anything, you can easily just whoop, strap it on,
yeah,
done.
and it's
That's
done. Yeah, so yeah, if you guys want to check that out, it's on YouTube. It was an interesting video, like kind of seeing how it worked and everything, and he was even talking about it, just saying like how he thought it was going to be like more of a learning curve, but it's like you almost pick it up immediately because you don't realize how quick the brain actually like, they fire synapses and transfer messages lightning fast, within your brain. So like I think that's probably fair to say, like, yeah, you would probably pick it up pretty quick because you don't have to think about doing something and then doing the action with your extremities. Your mind is already doing it for you because it has made that thought connection.
like an involuntary response.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, it's cool to see. I didn't think to see like things like this coming over the horizon so quickly. But I guess we're already in that age of technology, with this kind of stuff.
Oh,
So
without a doubt. It's just, unfortunately, it's things are kind of happening, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So
right.
we're definitely living in the future. I would also say, just to wrap it up, though, for those who are concerned about the monkey, Elon Musk did also specify it's okay. He doesn't look weird, so that's okay.
We're all concerned about the way he looks, really. I mean, if he doesn't look weird, we're fine with it.
It's about the aesthetic.
Yeah, that's the point we should be worrying about. All right, so so at this point, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back in just a few minutes. You guys talk amongst yourselves or listen. I don't know. Do whatever you want. All right, guys, welcome back to the Digital Denizens podcast. Sorry to keep you waiting. At this point in the show, we're going to get into the new and upcoming releases, and we just got a couple to go through. There wasn't a ton go through on the new releases, but I don't know, maybe you guys will find something interesting in some of these. But so the first one we got is Little Nightmares 2. This is available on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PS4, February, and this is available February 11th, 2021. So that's like next week, right around the corner. If you guys aren't familiar with Little Nightmares, the first one or the second one or whatever, Little Nightmares 2 follows the story of Mono, a young boy trapped in a world distorted by the humming transmission of a distant signal tower. It's not really a lot to go off of, but you get the picture.
If it's anything like the first one, it should be a really good game.
I did play the first one. I never finished it. It was very like nerve-wracking, because it's like those games where like you have nothing to fight against the enemies or anything. It's just like run and hide type thing.
Yeah, just objective survive.
Yeah, exactly. But I loved the art style and everything in that first game. It was so unique, and I'd never seen anything quite like that. There's another a really good game that's similar to that. I don't know if you played it. It was called Inside. It was I think it was on Xbox Game Pass. It was originally only on Xbox, and then they finally released it to PC. But it was really cool art style, side-scrolling, like 2D.
Focuses on like more like the black and reds kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen a few streamers. I haven't played it myself, but it does look like a really good game.
It is really good. It's very short. Like you can finish it in one sitting. It's probably about like 3 or 4 hours long.
Oh wow.
But it's got it's really uniquely done, and just like it's got like an interesting twist that like I did not expect to come from that game too, which was really interesting. So yeah, if you guys like that kind of stuff, you guys probably be interested in this. The next one is Persona 5 Strikers. This is going to be available on Nintendo Switch, PS4, PC, and that's going to be February 23rd, 2021. This is Persona 5 Strikers is an action RPG set in the Shin Megami Tensei Persona universe and featuring one against many battle mechanics created by Omega Force. So I think this is like a slightly different RPG style fighting combat situation that they added into this one. But if you guys are familiar with the Persona games, you probably would like this. I personally have not played any of these.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah, pun intended, guys. But yeah, I've heard so many good things about the Persona games. I just never really got around to really playing any of them. So this next one is Taxi Chaos, available on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PS4, available February 23rd. I feel like this is Crazy Taxi trying to come back fresh, like we never remembered what happened on the Dreamcast.
R.I.P.
You can't just change one part of the name and then expect people to be like, oh, this is a new game. What kind is this? Do you remember Crazy Taxi back on fucking...
I played it during the PlayStation days, like when it first had come out. I don't remember much about it. It was definitely. I only just remember like one of the marketing that got to me was what's his name, the clown with the ice cream truck.
Twisted Metal from Twisted Metal. You're talking about?
Yeah. So just like which one was it? Was it Crazy Taxi 2 or 3 where you were able to play as him? I think.
Oh yeah, I think they did have like it was like an added character crossover type thing.
Yes. All right, so that is the one. Yeah, but it was the Crazy Taxi. They had the arcade. That's the one I originally remember playing on. Then they brought it to or ported to the consoles. I played it once. It didn't really grab my attention too much.
Mine
only
either.
Because, like I got so unfocused really quickly, just picking up people, dropping them off. The fun part, you could like literally kill and run over people and run into cars or whatever else.
It was fun, just like it was mostly the focus was just like destruction with having to get your passenger to their location without them getting killed. And you're like, I don't care about anybody else. They made it safely, and that's what really matters.
Exactly. It's one piece.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what this game even looks like, because I didn't see any like gameplay or anything on IGN's website where I pulled this from. So I don't know. We'll see what this turns out to be. The next one is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and this is available on Nintendo Switch, February 12th, 2021. I think Super Mario 3D World had already come out before this, I believe. Is that correct?
So Super Mario 3D World originally came out on the Wii U.
Oh,
Um,
right. Mm-hmm.
and I've played it before. I have mixed feelings about it. I think it's a really solid platformer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not the best person. Like, if you say that you can beat me in a platformer, you're probably going to be right. But
Yeah.
for my liking, I think they focused it was the hyper focus on the cat suit. It was a little odd to me. I like the, able to go back to the other, superpowers. The ability to copy yourself is pretty cool.
Oh,
But
like the raccoon suit and all that
yes,
stuff. Yeah.
I think it's just very unfortunate because of the poor sales of the Wii U. Not too many people got to experience it. So
Yeah.
I think this is actually going to be pretty cool. And Bowser's Fury actually looks like it's going to be pretty dope too.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I think the difference between this one being released on the Switch is it says it adds multiplayer mayhem, which pounces onto the Nintendo Switch. I should have said that with more oomph. The multiplayer mayhem pounces onto the Nintendo Switch. Maybe too
There you
much.
go.
This enhanced version of Super Mario 3D World features co-op gameplay, both online and through local multiplayer in a variety of creative levels. So I think that's really cool is that it adds the co-op and online stuff, online and local multiplayer to kind of add that element into there. So that's really cool. Like you can play with your friends or your family, whatever, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna probably keep an eye out for that one. I think, that's probably be cool to play with like you and your kids or something like that.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So this next one is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, available on Nintendo Switch February 25th, 2021. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection sees the return of the gallant knight Arthur as he embarks on a brand new quest to rescue the princess from the devious demon realm. I believe the original Ghosts and Goblins, that was that Nintendo or Super Nintendo?
So it was Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, and then,
Yeah,
or was it Ghouls and Goblins originally on the NES, and then
I
on
think
the
you're
Super.
right. I think it was Ghouls and Goblins. Yeah.
Yes, right, and then on the Super NES, it was Super Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
for masochists only, such an awesome game, but I can't get past the first level.
Yeah, it's such a hard game. Going back to like classic retro games like that, games were so much harder back then than they are now. It's just wild, like the
You
how
know
the
why?
difficulty has changed over the years.
Oh, without a doubt. But you know why?
Well, I think I'm gonna speculate. I think a lot of it was like renting games. They wanted people to continue renting the game because they knew they were never gonna beat it.
Yeah, so something similar, so something along those lines. So
Yeah,
basically, because take the video games that we have nowadays, right? So you have your Xbox or your PlayStation, you have to
mhm,
download 13 gigabytes, just for like a
right.
Call of Duty update, right? To play the actual full thing. We're dealing with Nintendo or Super Nintendo cartridges that had at most like what, a few hundred megabytes of storage
Yeah,
on there. So
right.
to get the most out of the game, to feel like you actually purchased something worthwhile, what's better to actually have it, like, if it's a moderate difficulty and you run through it literally within 2 hours, or something where you have an enhanced difficulty where it's going to take you 6 hours, 10 hours to actually get past and further to
Hmm.
then you get to the end goal. And it was an incredibly difficult game, but because of the difficulty being so high, it took you that much longer to get there, so it feels
Oh
like you
yeah.
actually made a worthwhile purchase.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, it's a mind fuck. Fuck you, Nintendo. No, just kidding.
Damn your marketing skills.
Yeah. How dare you be good at marketing? So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Like, I'm curious to see how that looks and how it's gonna play compared to the original. I think that's really cool. This next one looked interesting. Wrath, Eon of Ruin. This is going to be available on Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC on February 25th, 2021. This says equipped with an arsenal of 9 weapons of an exceptional might and an inventory of 10 powerful artifacts, you must traverse ancient crypts, sunken ruins, corrupted temples, and howling forests to bring death to your enemies. What I got from this game, it was very reminiscent of like the older Doom games, and I don't know if you're familiar with Painkiller.
I'm not, but I love Doom.
Yeah, Painkiller. I believe it was originally on PC, back in like the early 2000s, and it came around about the same time as like I think it was Doom 3. You know, where it was like fully 3D and everything.
Oh, like when it
Um,
came back, the Xbox days. Okay.
yeah, and it was fully 3D. It wasn't like the pixel type game anymore. And Painkiller, it played very similar to Doom, but you played as like a monster slayer almost.
Hmm.
And like I think there was parts where you would have to go to hell and like kill some of these creatures, but you were like a monster slayer trying to like kill vampires and like zombies and all sorts of types of things. Again, all around that time we also had like Serious Sam and like Quake and all that kind of stuff. It played into like that very similar facade of like the first person shooters of that time.
That's
You
pretty cool.
know, yeah, it was really cool. So graphically, like this reminds me of like those games too. Like it's not super impressive. It looks like an in between of like Doom 3 and the pixelized Doom games.
Hmm.
So it's not fully 3D, but it's not fully pixelated either. It was interesting. It looks cool. So yeah, maybe check that out. You guys might find that interesting if you like all those kind of games. This last one is Bravely Default 2, available on Nintendo Switch, February 26, 2021. And Bravely Default 2 is a successor to the original Bravely Default game and will have players embark on a new story in a new world featuring all new heroes of light. So I've heard amazing things about Bravely Default. Never played any of them. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. So, all right. About this time, we would do our retribution section, which is our correction section. And so if you guys have anything, anything to correct for us, we're counting on you guys to help us build this podcast into something really great and worth your listen. So if we happen to get anything wrong or mischaracterize things, which we can do from time to time because we are human, this is your opportunity to help us so we can set the record straight in future episodes. We're counting on you guys to hold our feet to the fire. Just don't burn us too badly. Also, if you're watching the video version of the podcast, you'll find the links down below to our social media, and you guys can help us in the future. So now we're going to get to our Pixel to Pixel segment. This is kind of for like questions and stories, but as I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, we're kind of reformatting this segment a little bit. I'm reaching out to streamers, YouTubers, podcasters, or even prop game merch creators and artists. But that's not even the sky's the limit. Like we're reaching out beyond that. So, I'm looking to help get people recognized, connect them with others that can help them get started, or interview people who are experienced in this industry that can help those who are interested in maybe getting some insight on how to get started. Personally, I know how hard it can be to get started in doing a podcast or video content. It can be difficult even finding that direction that you want to go with once you do start. So why not try to make things a little bit easier, right? And try working together to create like our own community so we can help each other out. The only way is to make this together. Nobody does this alone, as I mentioned earlier, and it's easier when we can do it, maybe collaborating with other podcasters or other streamers and things like that to come on the show and talk about what they do and why they do it. And, what keeps them going through doing their love of their craft. Right. So yeah, I think, if you guys are unsure, maybe you fit into this category, maybe you don't, just message me on Instagram at digital_denizens. I'll put the links down below in the podcast and you can find me. You can also find AJ. He's at all four gamers, and that's ALL for the number and gamers with a Z at the end. And maybe he can answer some questions for you too. I don't know. But let's get into it. This week I have a few people that I'd like to shout out that maybe could use some help and maybe use some direction. Um, the first one I have here is at it's sorry it's Derek, ITSDARICK. I found him on Instagram. He's a Twitch streamer and content creator on Instagram, and he's kind of figuring out what he should be doing. You can find him on twitch.tv slash it's Derek and also on Instagram at it's Derek. So he was just kind of like stressing to me, like, I'm looking to collaborate with you, and maybe kind of, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a while, but I've not really been giving it everything that I can possibly give. So I'm, willing to, help him if he wants to come onto the show and talk about what he's doing. And maybe somebody can, based on what he tells us about what he's doing, maybe somebody can reach out to him and help him kind of find some direction in all of this. So it's Derek. We got your back, man. Jonathan, the next one is Jonathan, I think it's Pacer, found me on Instagram and had some questions about starting a gaming YouTube channel. And he's big into Call of Duty Warzone. I gave him a little bit of advice to get started, but I feel like it would be a little more helpful for him to get some more advice from our listeners out there. If you guys would like to reach out to him, you can find him over Instagram at Pacer, PEYECER02. And, kind of give him some pointers and advice on getting started on his YouTube channel. So we want you guys to succeed. So, keep it up. So I'm going to go into the interview with AJ, kind of ask him about what he's doing and, why he's doing what he does. And then at the end, I want to make a couple other mentions for some other people that, may show up on the show or may, at some point or have already been on the show. So, so this week's Pixel to Pixel segment is with AJ, aka at All Four Gamers. First off, how did you come up with the name All Four Gamers?
Lack of sleep.
Perfect, love it.
Well, I think it's kind of like with a lot of a lot of people within the gaming community is it's one of my favorite things to do to just de-stress from the realities of life, right? Not forget about life, but as if anybody were to watch a TV or a movie, just kind of get engrossed in something and just relax for a little bit. So I would be just gaming with a few of my other friends, 3 to be exact, so that makes 4. So one day I was working my job that I just absolutely despised, and I was like, how cool would it be for me to just kind of do what everybody else is doing, talk about gaming, at least something that I'm cognizant of, it's within my wheelhouse of knowledge, for the most part, and something that could not be something that you dread doing. Right. So it was like I game with 3 of my other buddies. That's 4 of us. The letter Z is pretty cool, I guess. So just kind of thinking about all those and to be honest with you as well, it's I've always wanted to just have kind of like a hub, kind of like exactly what you're doing, more of like a physical hub, but a place where people can just come down, talk gaming, just hang out, BS with one another, just be chilled, just catch a vibe or something. And I figured, why not All Four Gamers? I am All Four Gamers. I'm about you, I'm about me, I'm about the little guy, I'm about the big guy. Let's talk gaming. Let's just be chill. So I figured that would be a pretty cool name.
Yeah. So so you said this is like a physical hub that you can come to. Was this like a physical location that you guys had set up?
So not in a sense. That's what I want. Okay. That is the end goal. So to kind of what I'm doing now is building up towards that. Okay. My idea for what I want to do is to have a lounge. Kind of where everyone can come down, again, talk about this, that, and the third, play some games over here, grab a cup of coffee. So not sell alcohol, because that's going to be age restricting. I want everybody from age 10 to age 99, even 5-year-olds if they want, to come down and just hang out. It's not that you're an other, you're you're one of us. You're amongst a community of people that you can
Yeah.
hang with, talk about what you love, don't need to worry about anything, and it's kind of like the watering hole at
Yeah.
work. That's what I would want to build up to.
I think that's a really cool idea, especially like you're saying, it's not age restricting.
Yeah.
I grew up in where I lived in Jersey. Um, when I was in high school, I lived in like a very small town in northern Jersey. Like in the west east fucking bumblefuck. I don't know. But it was a small town and there was like nothing to do there. And I did get into like, drinking alcohol with my friends and like doing other shit. I'm not condoning alcohol by any means. Still not too early to drink.
5 o'clock somewhere or 2
Yeah.
o'clock.
but you see what I'm saying? Like in a small town like that, there isn't much to do, so like kids are going to turn to other means. But like I think if I were to have something like that in my town or even close by, where I can be like, oh yeah, I can go there and like play Magic the Gathering with my friends at a table, or jump on some arcade sticks, or whatever, whatever you want to do. I think it deters kids from leading to other means of like having fun, like
100%.
drugs and shit like that. It's like you guys are too young to be doing that shit. You
Yeah.
know, like
Don't grow up too fast.
you shouldn't be doing heroin until you're 70 years old when you got nothing to lose.
You just don't care.
You don't have a house to lose at that point. Who gives a shit?
Your kids are taking care of you.
Right,
Let them
exactly.
wipe up the vomit from your mouth after you get a heart attack. Ugh.
Yeah. So no, that is awesome. Yeah, I like where your head's going with that kind of stuff. So how did you kind of fall into this, and what made you want to do what you do? Well, actually, so what? Let's talk about like what you're currently doing with All for Gamers right now.
Sure. So as of right now, we originally started off doing like our going in amongst a different million different directions.
Yeah.
So I worked on it with a couple of my buddies. We have a few videos. We were doing podcasting as well for a little bit. Didn't really pick up traction, but it was interesting enough. Unfortunately, our heads were not really clicking with one another. My head was in a completely different, headspace back then, unfortunately. So it never really took traction the way that it probably could have, but still reaching the same goal. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to get back into internet content making. So to market our online store and our physical what I like to call travel shop, I'm doing YouTube videos called Tiny Arcades, A Tiny History. We have one particular item in our online and mobile shop that we sell. They're tiny arcades. They're legitimately the size of about a credit card. They bring you back to the the glory days of arcades, right? We have Tetris, which, believe it or not, was an arcade originally. We also have the Ninja Turtles '89 arcade that came out. We have
so
Pac-Man.
awesome.
Oh my god, dude, I love playing with that one. But yeah, so we have all the arcade classics, and I thought that to try to help, I guess, educate the community, but also entertain, also just to try to point out, hey, we have these items for sale, you can be yours. Why not put together a little segment about it? Give some entertainment, give some history about these arcades where everybody kind of feels more along the lines of like, oh wow, I never knew that. That's actually pretty cool. So I think that brings us together, and again, it is a little bit of a marketing thing too, because I would like to bring eye to the shop as well. So it's kind of like a little bit of a little mix of both.
That's awesome, man. Let's see. So what made you kind of want to get into this business, and do you see this as like a long-term investment, or is this kind of more like a side gig or a hobby for you?
It's definitely more of long term. So to answer the first question, what got me, what drives me? So I'm a people person, to be quite honest with you. I never knew where or what I wanted to do. I just knew that I like being myself. I like joking with people. Like, this is the first time that you and I have actually met face to face, and I think that we clicked well. You know?
Yeah, we got some good chemistry.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got into sales years ago, but I realized that I just love talking to people, going up to people, BSing with them about this, that, and the third, telling them about a product that can actually help
Mhm.
them out, um, would interest me, and then just getting them just as interested about it. It's kind of like one of those things where like, yeah, all right, I like talking to people, so this is good. I now have a path.
Yeah.
So what can you do with something that's that broad, right? You can do almost anything with that.
Mhm.
Then you take your love of what's your favorite thing to do. I play guitar, but I'm not as good where I can be a top artist. I
Mhm.
face back, so pretty quickly. But so,
We all know our
what else can
place.
I exactly just playing Kumbaya can only get you so much. So, but what else? What else do I like? I like playing games. I like talking about games. I get passionate about it, and I see that for all intents and purposes, our community can
Mhm.
get a certain dogma about them, where you're the fat Cheeto eating loser, not going anywhere in life. And I see all these amazing people out there creating content, doing streaming, just putting things together. Where they're like,
Yeah.
that's not the people that I know. I want to bring light to that. I want to talk. I want to talk to the 30-year-old and the 10-year-old, the 30-year-old
Right.
about the SNES, the 10-year-old about what about Roblox? What's interesting about it? So
Right.
I think that as a dynamic, the gaming industry is fantastic. It's so you can do so much with it, and why not
So
actually
vast. Yeah.
talk to people with it?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's definitely a long-term thing,
Yeah.
not a fly by night. I could have easily, ditched it about a year or two ago, easily. But I got together with my brother-in-law. He's now my business partner. So
Cool.
the logo is officially patent. So A4GZ is 100% mine.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and so I'm actually incorporated as well. So not a fly by night, 100% business.
That's awesome. I think it's a really unique thing to get into. I think it, like you were saying, like it brings a lot of nostalgia with like a lot of those older games we grew up with as kids,
Yeah.
or even kids coming to this for the first time. I think it's really cool. Like you were saying, like they're small enough you can like clip them onto your backpack, or you can bring them onto the bus when you're commuting or whatever. Just whip it out and just kind of play with it for a little bit. That
Oh, not
sounded
that.
wrong. I'm sorry.
I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm glad you did. Somebody had
Yeah.
to.
We're talking about games, guys.
Talking about
um,
furries, talking about whipping it out. What is this podcast?
oh man, it's gone extremely sexual. I apologize. It's all by happenstance. I promise. This was not planned. Yeah, this is just really unique, though. I think it's such a cool thing to get into. Um, I was going to ask you, do you do this by yourself? But you already answered that question. You do it with your brother-in-law, which is your business partner.
Mhm.
Um, what advice? What motivates you guys to keep going with this?
I would say it's a mixture of, well, let's be honest, right? So we're all human. So I
Yeah.
would say it's a little bit of mixture of known selfish reasons, also a mixture of pragmatism, a mixture of like a little different mixture of everything, right? I would say selfish because I'd like to be my own boss. Answer to
Yeah.
Nomad. If I want to wake up at 9 o'clock and be at work at 9:30, I can do that, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Where I can also just the idea of being an entrepreneur, right, has always
Mhm.
fascinated me since I started sales. You can only make what $35,000 because you work for X company, right? Because they're the
Mhm.
ones who set your rates. Why not work for yourself, where your rate and how much you make is dependent on how much effort you put in. So if you want
Yeah,
to and you want and need to make $100,000, you bust your ass off and you work for yourself and you make that $100,000. You got nobody to tell you how much you can make.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
that's fascinated me, and I really do I really do want to pursue that to the utmost extent of,
Mhm.
again, getting a community together and just kind of being my own boss, where I can live my life as comfortably as I see fit. You
Yeah,
know.
that's awesome. I think that inspires a lot of confidence, I think, in myself. And I hope that inspires other people listening, to realize like, you don't have to be working some, job at McDonald's or some other job that you're just not happy with. Like you can find something that is highly relatable, but it's also something that you find passionately enough that you can either do or sell or whatever like AJ's doing here and kind of be your own boss. You don't have to be, held down by the man.
Yeah.
This is America. So yeah, I hope you guys take inspiration from that, and maybe that gives you guys the push that you guys are looking for to maybe make that happen. It's definitely possible. So,
100%.
Yeah. Let's see. Any advice that you could give somebody looking to get into something like this?
Yeah, actually, I would say if you put your mind to it, you absolutely can do it. It's just a matter of how much work you're willing to put into it. Go in with a clear mindset of what you want. Don't be scatterbrained like I was. It's definitely I'm definitely picking back up. Unfortunately, COVID hit us all,
Yeah.
and just the worst time. But I think that I finally got my head back on. Similar like what you were saying, I finally got my head back on straight, where I can say this is what I want to do, and I will do it.
Yeah.
But having the clear goal, at first, and mapping out how to do it, that in itself will get you 60%, where you got to go right off the bat.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good advice, man. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Let's see. Is there any sort of gear or anything to get started in something like this?
So I would say that's dependent upon what you want to do, right? So on my YouTube series, with the videos that I've been doing now, I love making them, the tiny arcades. I literally I went to Best Buy about a couple months ago, and I asked the guys, like, do you have any stuff for vlogging? Right? He looked at me like a little weird, like, that's usually what, like, teenagers are wanting. I was like, I have to just leave me alone. So,
let me have this.
I got this $60 bundle, right? I used half of what came in it. The most important thing that I had gotten is a tripod, a little plastic tripod with a little mini boom mic that plugs right into my phone. So nice. I used that. The audio quality is not bad. I'm definitely going to, get better equipment as I progress. But if you listen to the video, I record the video on my phone. I do the editing on my phone. I paid for a subscription for editing service for like $30 for the year. So wow. I would say, if for anybody who wants to start off with vlogging, if you want to be a streamer, if you want to do something, you do not need to start off with the best equipment. It starts off here, that of something that you want to do. There was something in sales that we would always go with, right? It was always something of, if you're a golfer, right, you always compare to the best golfer, right, which would be Tiger Woods, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're a golfer, you want to have the best equipment as well. But what's going to make you the best golfer? Is it your skills, or is it the clubs?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you gotta know what you're doing first before you can utilize the tools given to you. Yeah.
So you can get the basic of equipment, and you can be a rock star just with that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I think that's really cool to know. I think for people just starting out, like, yeah, you don't need the best equipment and all that kind of stuff. You can start with something small, and if you like, just practice it first and see if it's something you even like before you spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars on all this equipment that you might potentially find maybe this is not for me, maybe we'll try different avenues. So what would you say that you enjoy most about doing what you do?
I would say that the two things. So the video production of it, one of my new favorite things, because I wanted to be an actor when I was little. So I kind of get to live out my actor dreams, right? I have the light that everybody has, like that ring light that's shining on me now to get the best light. Nice. I get to talk about everything. I do the editing. So that in of itself has become my new favorite thing. But when we do these mobile shops, like we go around Long Island and we were able to just set up shop and just sell our stuff, it comes back to just talking to people, man. You don't realize how many other people are in the same headspace as you until they see, like, I'm not gonna lie, but my logo, my buddy Matt put it together.
That's
But
awesome.
right, so he put it together, and I love it. We were able to refine it over the past couple of years, but it's a conversation starter. So people are like, what are you about? It's like, I'm about gaming and talking to people.
Yeah.
You're about that. So like, they see what I'm selling. We start BSing. I talk to these one guys for like 2 hours straight. It's fantastic. So it's just the connection that you get to make.
Yeah.
I think that. Okay, no, I take that back. That's my first favorite. The video editing is.
Yeah, I think I would say along with you on that. Like, I love the interaction on the podcast first and foremost, but I also do find like a satisfaction from like doing the editing and polishing of like the video and the audio, and like, you know, I just started doing the video podcasts on YouTube, and like adding in some of those little like flares and like text overlays on the screen. Like, after I say something, I can put something in there, and just like, and it's a totally different experience going from audio to video, where it's like somebody listening to it wouldn't even know any of that stuff, and then they watch it and they're like, oh, this is a totally new experience. It's fresh, like more interactive, and you can see different stuff that you wouldn't naturally see.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that's super cool. So what kind of resources would you say you found to find your viewers on like Instagram or whatever platforms you're using?
So far, I was doing more of a follow for follow because it was more formulaic the way I started out. So like, again, it goes back to the not having a clear mindset of what I wanted to do and being sporadic all over the place. So that in of itself is very detrimental, and it got me the followers that I'm looking for. I do, obviously, like with anybody else, I'd love to expand my reach, but I'm trying to do it more naturally, where it's not you're following for following, right? You're actually interested in the content. And I got to hold my feet to the fire as well. It wasn't always, consistent with the uploading, so I don't blame people for unfollowing me. But the follow for follow can only get you so far. If you like that you have 5,000 followers, but only 20 of them are real people who actually enjoy what you do, the other thousands of followers mean nothing. So I would say, as of right now, it's just consistently and constantly putting up content every day. I don't put up pictures every day on my Instagram, but rather what I do is I put like little news snippets. You might have seen it. I put like little news snippets in my storyline to because of things that I find interesting, like the monkey brain thing. That was wild. But I've noticed that people are now actually consistently following me. I get another 1 to 2 followers per day, which I think is pretty wild. But
that's awesome.
If you're consistent with your social media, you're constantly putting out something that is actually of substance for the most part. I think that's going to help you drive, followers, especially if you use, and like you and I were talking about it before, keywords. Unfortunately, as much as we hate it, it is an actual computer algorithm that actually does get you the clicks or the views. So I think at least a base knowledge of how to use hashtags and how to use keywords, that'll definitely get you far.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you said like kind of like being ahead of the game and trying something new. Like, I think it's fine. Like, I think if you're on Instagram and you're trying to do the same thing that other people are doing, but like sometimes that does work, where if somebody's hitting on this point and you do the same thing, you might get probably the same amount of follows, maybe more, maybe less. But I think ultimately your best bet is to try something new, try something different that nobody else is doing. And I think you're really going to find some success there doing that rather than doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's some really good advice. Let's see. If you were to change something or anything about the industry, the way that it's done, how would you go about doing so? Whether it's about streaming, content creation, or anything like that.
I would think I would actually like to. So you have the big guys who say that they're about the little guys, right? You have GameStop saying power to the players. We all know that that's a bunch of bull. They don't care about us. We're just a bunch of numbers to them, right?
Yeah.
it's nice to think of them as the good guys that we want them to be, the altruistic good guys who are looking out for us, but that's not the case.
Right.
I think that it would it would benefit the community and it would benefit everybody to more of an extent if they actually listened, right, to the feedback. Like we've seen it happen before, right? So Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red say, "Hey, oops, we goofed," but everybody held their feet to the fire, right? So like, all
Right.
right, it's
Yeah.
one thing to apologize, and which seemed like a completely empty thing because you're putting out a yellow thing saying, "Oops, sorry." Then to actually have the CEO come out with a full-fledged video to really say, you hammered it home, we messed up, we apologize, So I want to see more things like that. Listening to what people actually want. Like, it's not toxic because we're saying this. Actually listen to what we're saying and try to understand. Don't just
Mm-hmm.
hear, listen. And I think that would go far for everybody. And again, like, what you're doing is phenomenal. Like, giving a voice to the voiceless.
Yeah.
Which the voiceless are the majority, but because we're
Right.
not the Rockefellers, we're not Madonna, we're not, all these big celebrities, our voices are hindered because we don't have that clout. And I think that's BS.
It is. Yeah. I would totally agree with that. Yeah. I think it's so hard to find everybody amongst the heap of, you know, all these famous people because they're, they've made it, and people do make it to the top. It's not like they don't, but it's so seldom these days, like you have to do something really unique, but it's like, you could find something really amazing amongst all of this stuff. People doing amazing things on Instagram or YouTube or Twitch or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, yeah, let's help each other get to the top, and like nobody really needs to be at the bottom anymore.
Exactly.
Like we should all kind of be elevated to the same level, and if yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is help these people do that, and I'm new at this. I'm still doing this myself, like this is very early in its gestation period. So, I'm just trying to reach out to people and kind of see where this all goes. So I'm hoping that it hits, and it's like, why trust me? Well, I mean, take my word for it if you want, or if you don't want to, but that's why I'm saying, I'm trying to reach out to other people so we can build this community together. Like it's not all resting on my shoulders either, you know. So we just got to work together to get there,
Yeah.
so if we help mention each other and kind of like elevate each other's content, I elevate your content, you elevate my content, somebody else elevates both of our content, we elevate them, we're
Yeah.
all going to be up there, right? So I think it's just, yeah, I think it's something unique and something that hasn't quite been done before, at least that I know of. So
I think a lot of people have tried it, but I think it goes back down to the follow for follow, right? Because I've
yeah.
seen I don't go on Twitter too often,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of cool people on Twitter, but the majority from everything that I've seen, it's always the same thing, follow for follow, and I almost fell into that trap of consistently doing that. I stopped it with Instagram and I stopped it with Facebook.
Yeah.
But if you see on Twitter, you see follow for follow Monday or follow for follow Fridays. That's fine. Now I have 30 new followers, but I only have one interaction with my posts and
Right.
maybe one view on my YouTube and no views on my shop. So what does that follow for follow actually do? It's the
Right.
concept is there to try to help you out, but
Hmm.
the implementation I think is poor. But if you actually do what you're doing, right, you put together quality content, you give a voice to people who otherwise wouldn't be heard.
Yeah.
You're not actually BSing them of saying like, oh, this is a great guy. What does he do? Stuff. I don't know. Check this out. Right?
Yeah. Just making shit up as it goes along.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think if we're able to help post about each other's stuff, and I think that can help in the long run. And yeah, like there's so many people that will like something on your page, but it's like, and I could post something that's like, what's your favorite color? And they'll just like it. And it's like, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking
Yeah.
for engagement, and it's like, your like is good. Thank you. I appreciate it. But that's not the point of what that post was supposed to do, or like a voting poll or something like that. You liking it doesn't tell me whether you're on one side or the other.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Do you like
You
it?
like
Yes.
polls.
Like
It's good
no.
for
You
you.
like it. Doesn't help me.
I'm glad you like polls. Did you vote this year? Oh, you didn't vote. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this is I'm looking forward to where a lot of this stuff goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you gave me the chance to kind of get into your mind and talk about what you do and maybe give some other people insight on how they can do what you do similarly or something different and how to get started on that. So, thank you, AJ. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. Again, I also wanted to make a few shout out or mentions to who I am to collaborate with in the future. One or two of these you might see on the show in the future or have seen on here before. So I couldn't have done this honestly without Leslie over at Sector 7 Item Shop. She is excellent. I thank you again. I want to help elevate her because she does some amazing art and merch that she makes, in her own shop. And if you're looking to reach out to her to either get some information about what she's doing, how you could be possibly do something what she does, or even if you just want to like get something from her shop, I personally just bought like a really cool Cyberpunk tray that she made that she posted on her Instagram,
Oh, you
and
got that. Oh, I'm so jealous.
yeah, and I was like, dude, it's going to a good cause, like, and she's helping me out, and I love Cyberpunk, and I love the art that she does, and I can't wait to get it so I can show it off on the show, and like I said, I want to post some stuff of my collection on Instagram and stuff like that. So keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, her channel, you can find her on Instagram at Sector 7 Item Shop, and she's also got a link in her bio. I'm going to mention it here, but it's pretty easy. Once you go to her Instagram page in her bio, you can click the link and it'll take you right to the shop. Or you can just browse on her Instagram and see all the things that she has there too and find links. But her link is is it Linktree?
So yeah, she has a link tree that just kind of like gives her like like all the different
Okay.
things that she
Yeah.
has.
Okay, yeah, I think it's Linktree/Sector 7 Item Shop. So yeah, go on and check that stuff out. Like I'm sure you will find something that piques your eye that is awesome. So, the next one I wanted to mention is Vile Shrew. He's a Twitch streamer and YouTube content creator. He's been on the show before and will most likely show up from time to time. I can't get rid of him. He's like a bad habit. No, he's awesome. I've known him for a very long time. Probably because we're related, but that's fine too.
Wait a minute, I sense a conspiracy here.
You might. Yeah, there probably is a conspiracy here. But you can find him over on twitch.tv/vileshrew and youtube.com/vileshrew. So he does streaming and then he takes some of that content and makes YouTube videos, and he's pretty funny. So you guys would probably like him. He plays all sorts of games, he's all over the place. So I'm sure you could find something you'd enjoy watching. And I think he also does bar streams too. Like he does a lot of mixology, which I've recently gotten into myself too. But he does some really cool stuff with like making interesting drinks and of that nature. So you'd probably enjoy that.
Does he do like Wild Coyote style, like flipping bottles and whatnot?
Not no, no, he's not getting up on tables and dancing, but
Then I don't want to watch that.
taking his clothes off or anything. But it's like he does a lot of like really classy stuff, like making his own like syrups and things like with like unique flavors, and it's just like an art form of making drinks. And I've gotten a lot of advice on how to make drinks from him, so you could probably even message him if you have questions about making like a certain type of drink on how to make it a specific way, so that is really cool. The last one I wanted to mention, also Leslie over Sector 7, she said she would probably end up showing up on the show at some point, or maybe from time to time, so we'll see. I'm still in contact with her to find out more about that. And the last one, Omega Carotene, and he creates also gaming related art. He does a lot of like really cool like I think it's like Final Fantasy 7 wall art and stuff like that. I don't think it's just Final Fantasy 7. He does a whole slew of different stuff, but you guys will just have to check him out. And I think he wanted to come on at some point and talk about what he does as well. And you can find his shop on Instagram at Omega Carotene, and his shop is bit.ly/OC Etsy. So yeah, check it out. You'll probably find something cool there. So yeah, I think that's all the time that we have for today's podcast. Thank you again, AJ, for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. I've had a
Anytime.
blast talking with you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, same.
Yeah, so if you ever want to come on the show, let me know. We can organize something. We'll get it worked out. You talk to my people, I'll talk to your people.
Absolutely.
My assistant is a cat, so I don't know if you can get over that.
Does she speak dog?
No, but I have dogs that speak dog.
Okay, all right. So we can make it work then.
Yeah, we'll make this work. Well, that's all the time we have for today's podcast. I hope that you guys had enjoyed what you heard, and we truly appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Digital Denizens. You have no idea how much it truly means to us that we're able to do this podcast, that you guys listen. And as I always say, hit that subscribe and follow button. And if you like what you hear, keep your ear to the ground for more to come. AJ, also wanted to give you the chance to put your plugs in, so that way people can find you.
Oh, awesome. I appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
So our main website, which I'm going to be revamping, unfortunately getting rid of our old podcast to kind of focus on more of the current stuff that we're focusing on. allforgamers.com, the number 4, GAMERZ.com. I have our online shop is linked in there somehow. It's a mind screw, so I'm not going to go into how to get to there.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easily accessible through our Instagram. So that's our Instagram handle is same thing, all for gamers. And we have our link to our online shop right there. Facebook is the same. It's all for gamers. You'll be able to find us right there. So we try to keep daily content up. I'm going to be trying to doing some news, and yeah, that's kind of about the plugs for me, man. And yeah, anytime that you want me on the show, this is a blast.
Yeah, awesome, man. Good. I'm glad you has fun. And I'm also gonna post, his plugs and stuff on my Instagram on the next couple posts and things. So that way, if you guys have trouble finding him, you can at least come to my page and look for him. I'll put the plugs in on YouTube for the video. And that way you guys can also find, where to find him and all of that kind of stuff. So if you guys also want to write in again to the podcast, you can find me at digital_denizens, and on Facebook at digital_denizens. And also now we're doing video, so you'll find the links down below for YouTube. We're at youtube.com/digitaldenizens. So thank you again for tuning in for another episode, and keep your ear to the ground for more to come very soon. Thank you, guys.
You are listening to Digital Denizens.